I used to think adding more sales reps meant more sales. Every time revenue stalled, my default move was to do the same thing, hire more sales reps. It felt logical. More people making calls should mean more revenue, right? But instead of scaling, we ended up stalling. And when I finally did the opposite, when I cut the team in half, we scaled faster than ever. And today, I'm breaking down why that happened, what I learned, and how you can fix it before it ends up burning you too. My name is Dylan Starr, and this is the Sell for Scale show. And I have spent over a decade building and leading sales teams in multiple industries. I'm talking agencies and SaaS companies to high ticket coaching consulting, even real estate funds. And across every industry, I have seen the same pattern. Founders think that they have a headcount problem when they actually have a systems problem. Now listen, it's such an easy trap to fall into. But what ends up happening is your revenue slows down, so you hire more people. Then you convince yourself that more dials equals more calls, and more sales calls equals more sales. But what you're really doing is actually multiplying complexity. Your training time goes up, your accountability with all the reps ends up going down, and your energy ends up getting spread across people who literally just are not ready to win yet. Now, I know this and I say it with such burning passion because a few years ago, I was hired to help an agency build an entire cold outbound process and team completely from scratch. I'm talking cold SMS, cold calling, cold emails, everything. So we started small. We got about 2 to 3 reps, maybe 4 on the roster, and we ended up finally doing around $30K per month. Again, completely cold. The process worked, so we figured, well, hey, if this works with a few reps, imagine what we can do if we had 10 or 12. So that's exactly what we did. We ended up hiring them. We onboarded another 10 to 12 setters, trained them up for weeks, and we told ourselves, hey, more reps means more booked calls. More booked calls means more offers. And if we make more offers, we're definitely going to make significantly more revenue. And now listen, at first, revenue did spike. We ended up hitting a 50K month, even 60K. But that ended up being the ceiling. Revenue after we hit 60K started dropping immediately right after that. So when it dropped, in our glorious wisdom, what was the next logical move? You guessed it, hire more people. So that's exactly what we did. We doubled down again. We brought in more setters and trained them up so that they could become closers and had to hire significantly more data scrapers so that we can keep everybody fed with leads. And now listen, it made complete sense on paper, but here's what actually ended up happening. Our lead quality completely tanked. We were booking 3 to 4 times more calls than before, but still closing less than ever. And I'm not going to lie, it drove me absolutely insane. I just could not fathom or understand how this was possible because we had so much volume going in our favor. But when I dug deeper, I realized that the problem wasn't our effort. It was actually the execution. Our top performing setter was crushing everybody else on paper. She was booking 10 to 15 plus calls per week and doing less than half the dials as them. So imagine that for a moment. Everybody else in your team is putting forth all this effort, cold calling, sending text messages, and you have one person on your team who is outperforming them and doing significantly less output and work. But here's the thing. When I went and reviewed all the deals that were closing and figuring out who they were coming from, like which setter was producing the best ones, only about 20% of our closed deals came from her leads. So I decided to go through and listen to her calls and figure out what was going on. And it shocked me. She ended up not qualifying at all. She basically was just booking anybody with a pulse. And even worse, the rest of the team were copying her bad habits. The worst part was I was too focused on training the underperformers on the team, the new hires, to even notice that the veterans were actually slipping. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, we realized that our data scraping team, the VAs we were hiring who actually fed the pipeline, they were slacking off. Through screen recording time, we saw that people were scrolling social media instead of actually finding qualified prospects. So I ended up, along with the founders, hitting a complete breaking point. Do we hire more people and hope that this magically works, just make the same mistake a third time? Or do we finally trim the fat and just rebuild everything from the ground up the right way. Hey, real quick, before we get back to the episode, most founders I talk to want to scale and they want to scale fast, but scaling too early is the reason why most sales teams actually fail. And here's why. If you don't have enough leads or your offer isn't strong enough, you're never going to keep good people around you. And even if you do have both, then the real bottleneck is usually the system that you're using. But how do you know which one it is? That's actually why I built a 30-second diagnostic assessment. It'll show you exactly what's holding you back before you go through the hassle of trying to scale a team. Just hit the link in the description to go ahead and take it. Super quick, 30 seconds. All right, now back to the episode. So that's exactly what we did. We did the unthinkable. We cut the entire team in half. We fired our top setter on the team. Bye-bye. And we only kept the ones who were significantly more coachable, that would actually listen and follow the process. The very next month, we hit 83K in revenue. The month after, finally, our first 100K month. The month after that, 120K. Same leads, half the team, but a significantly better system. That's when it clicked. You don't scale by adding people. You scale by removing friction. So why do so many founders keep falling into this trap? Because adding people really does feel like progress. I mean, it's visible. You can see it. And it's fast. And let's be honest, it strokes your ego. You look at your Slack channel, you see all these names online that are active in Slack. And so you tell yourself, hey, this is great. We're growing. But what you're really doing is just multiplying inefficiency. Now, what does inefficiency actually look like? I want to go over the 3 hidden costs of overhiring. And the first one is time cost. You stop being a CEO and you start being HR. Every new rep means more onboarding, more training calls, and of course, more micromanaging. The second one is culture cost. Too many new hires means that your standards end up dropping. Veterans start mirroring rookies and mediocrity spreads faster than skill. The third and final one is cash cost. Even commission-only reps still cost money. Every extra setter means a new CRM seat. It means extra Zoom accounts. It means extra hours of oversight. Our data scraping team was paid per hour. So the bigger we got, the higher our fixed costs ended up going with it. Here's the reality. All of those hires looked like growth, but they were really just hiding a broken system. Once we trimmed down, the entire game changed. We rebuilt around leverage instead of headcount. Our weekly trainings and role plays were significantly refined so that way we can sharpen skill, but also make sure that people were following the process. We ended up implementing clear qualification standards so that every single booked call was a real qualified lead. And finally, we tightened up our data from the scraping team. That way they were doing better filtering before the leads ever even hit the CRM. Now, what was the result of all this? Our reps produced twice as much the revenue with literally half the chaos. Because when you fix friction, your performance will end up compounding time after time after time. Then, and only then, are you able to eventually go and hire more. Now, if you're in that phase where you're tempted to hire your way out of a problem, here's the checklist you will need to actually stop you. First, you need to audit efficiency. Look at your show rates, look at your conversion rates, and more importantly, your deal quality per rep. Do not add more until you know who on your team is truly efficient. Next, you're going to want to fix the system first. Leadership and training have to exist before you decide to hire more people. If you are scaling chaos, you're just going to get louder chaos. And finally, earn the right to scale. Don't add headcount until every single rep on your team is operating at 80 to 90% capacity consistently, day after day, week after week. Scale should amplify performance, not compensate for weaknesses of other people on the team. You do not earn the right to scale by hiring more people. You earn it by proving your system can scale completely without you. Now, if you're watching this and you are a founder, here is a reframe that I have for you. The entire moral of today's episode. Headcount does not create scale. Systems do. And if your team is not performing predictably right now, then adding more people will literally just multiply the problem. So instead of asking, who should I hire next? Ask yourself, where is my system actually leaking? You don't scale by hiring, you scale by removing friction. This is the Sell for Scale show, and if this episode hit home, then subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. And if you've missed the previous episode, episode 27, it is called Sales Leadership in 2025, How to Build a Team That Scales Without You. Go back, check it out, because leadership is what turns small, focused teams into unstoppable ones. My name is Dylan Starr, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.